We're going to work a little bit on the heart energy today. We're going to kind of cool things down a little bit, but not too much because it's still cold outside. But let's start with some breath work to begin with. So just look down and make sure that your feet are outer hip distances apart. And by that, it means you don't want your feet too narrow because it's a little bit hard. You want a nice stable foundation, and you don't want to be too wide until we purposely go wider. We want just like a very neutral stance. So if you look at your feet and look at your outer shoulders, that's where approximately they should be. And then sort of like a little triangle. And then one hand on the lower abdomen and the other hand on top. And let's just start with focusing the breath on this area. And it's hard, it's a little bit harder to do this virtually because I can't actually see everyone and how you're breathing up close. But I was talking to someone about how for some people that are really used to breathing more in their chest, like having a deep abdominal breath is something that's actually a little foreign to them, and their bodies aren't used to it. So it's really difficult for their mind and their bodies to kind of get in sync with that. So I have a little tool and technique. This is not a type of posture and breathing that I want you to do all the time. It's just a way of seeing what it feels like when you're breathing more in the chest versus in the abdomen. So if you shrug your shoulders up towards your ears and then forward slightly, it's going to be, and then try to take a deep breath. It's going to prevent your body from expanding the lungs up here. It's going to force the air down into your abdomen. So if your shoulders up and then forward slightly, and try to take a deep breath, put your hands on the lower abdomen. You're going to feel the diaphragm. It has to maneuver in a certain way to allow the breath to come in to create space. Since it can't come into your chest, it's going to kind of force the diaphragm down and allow the breath to come more into your abdomen. So if you want to practice that a couple of times a day, just so you get the feeling of when the lower abdomen's engaged in the breath versus coming up to a neutral standpoint, and then you'll feel that it's a lot easier to breathe into the chest. So again, you don't want to be walking around like this as a habit. It's just a way of like feeling what abdominal breathing should feel like. And then once the body and the mind is understanding that, then when you come up to what I would say is a preferable state, so the shoulders up and back, chin tucked down slightly, and then when we try to go into abdominal breath, it's easier to translate that even when the chest is open. So that was just a little technique, and I had someone in the office that had an aha moment because she was so used to breathing up here, which is can be very shallow, and it's more of a stress breath. So deep abdominal breathing now. In through the nose and then out. I thought someone had showed me that little trick to cut off the ability to really breathe into the chest and force it into the abdomen as an enlightening moment. And I think it's really can be a helpful tool to use very temporarily. And then let's take the hands to the waist, right? The level of the belly button. And we're going to go into chi belt breathing. So keeping some resistance so your hands are kind of cinched in like you were wearing a corset. And then keep some tension here as we try to take a deep abdominal breath. And you'll feel that your diaphragm, your body has to work harder to be able to expand. This is a way of working out the diaphragm and strengthening the diaphragm. And to also get it in touch with the sensation that the diaphragm in our breathing isn't just in front. It's to the sides, and it's also in the back. It expands in all dimensions. And this is a great way of kind of tapping into that, getting the feedback to the brain of, okay, yeah, the diaphragm is expanding in all directions. We're helping to tonify it, strengthen it. Just a few more inhales. And then drop the arms down And we'll go into some spinal enlivening exercises, but to begin with, let's go into goalpost arms. So the elbows are bent, maybe just slightly lower than your shoulders. And then we're gonna just rotate over. I'm gonna mirror you. So we're gonna rotate over to your left, come to the toes of your right foot so you can get a little bit more rotation, and then come back to the center, and then rotate over to the right, coming to the toes of your left foot, and then back to the center. So at your own pace, we're just starting to get some rotation through the thoracic spine, the mid-back, a little bit to the low back, just back and forth, nice and slowly. And then making sure that you're breathing as well. So I like to inhale in one direction and exhale in the opposite direction, but whatever feels good for you, as long as you're engaging the breath. So we're moving energy here with the goalpost arms towards the upper back, and then we'll drop the arms slightly so the palms face down, more at like the level of your solar plexus. And we'll continue, so now we're moving energy more in the mid-back. And then let's drop the arms down even more. Now we're more towards the belly button, the lower abdomen. You can even bend the knees slightly. So this variation, we're moving energy more in the low back. And then from here, let's come to the center, and we'll go right into knocking on the door of life. So nice, loose arms, just knocking gently across the abdomen, the lower back. And then let's travel up just below the collarbone. So we're still knocking across the low back here, but in the front, we're knocking across the lung area. Just opening up all the channels that run from the organs, like little rivulets coming off of the reservoirs, sending energy through the body, and then all the way to the top of the shoulders. So I'm using almost like a little cup in the hands when I'm knocking across the top of the shoulders. It's a little bit easier than a loose fist. And then come back down below the collarbone. And then down to the waist. And then let's go right into water waves. So just release the arms from knocking, and we're still turning from the waist, and we're just allowing the arms to swirl and brush the space around you. This is a yin version of spinal enlivening, because it's slower, it's less activating. If you close your eyes, you can imagine, start engaging some imagery that you're just washing away any tension, washing away any rumination. And then slowly unwind. All right, now we'll do a little spinal cord breathing, again with a little rotation. So let's start first, just front and center. So we're gonna inhale with loose fists. I'm gonna come up, opening the chest so the elbows bend, And then when we exhale, we're going to curl the upper spine forward and the chin tucks down. So as we inhale, we're opening up the entire length of the front of the spine. And then on the exhale, we're getting a nice stretch to the lower back, all the way up the spine to the base of the neck. So just think about this as oiling the joints of the spine. As we move, it's helping to pump cerebral spinal fluid up. We're gaining flexibility between each of these joints, because the vertebrae actually joints. Where the vertebrae conjoin. And we're just moving. So we're lubricating, like oiling the hinges of a door and allowing the door to freely move back and forth, open and close. And then on the next inhale, we're going to rotate over to your left and then exhale back to the center. And inhale to the right and center. So we're still flexing and extending the spine and just giving a little rotation here, a little bit different dynamic. So we're moving the spine in a slightly different way, which is good. We want to be able to move all of our joints in all the ways the joints should be able to move to maintain the health of the joints. And rotation of the spine is super important. Of course, if this doesn't feel good, if anything doesn't feel good, you can always come back to the initial variation or a simpler variation. Let's do one more. And then come back to the center. Let the arms drop down. Let's do a clearing exercise first, and then we'll go into a wider stance. So let's go into the tiger. So let's make some tiger claws with our hands here. And then we start with the arms above. I always have this beam here. The houses up here the ceilings are there's not a lot of space here for a tall person. So inhale, and then as we exhale, we're going to gently bend the knees as we bring the hands and arms down towards the earth. And then as we inhale, we're going to come up. So straightening the legs, pulling the arms like you're combing the space all the way up, and then exhale back down. So you don't have to come into as deep of a squat. If a mini squat feels good for you, it's good. The pumping action of the knees is still helping, but if your hips don't feel good coming all the way down or your back doesn't, just play with what feels good for you. The intention here is the most important thing, and that's we're taking energy that is no longer useful, stress, tension, old energy, sending it to the earth, like we're dredging it up, and then sending it down. But if it feels good to come down a little bit further into the squat, just make sure that the weight is more towards your heels. That will protect your knees. This is actually really great for the health of the hip joint. Starting to generate a little bit of heat. One more. This time, as we inhale and come up, let's crisscross the forearms and then separate them with a nice little growl on the exhale. And let's just pause here for a moment. Just notice how you're feeling as things start circulating. There's that life force energy. We're activating it, we're clearing it, and now we'll be able to go into our flows. But before we do, let's do a little swimming dragon. So coming to a wider stance, maybe about 3 feet, and the feet should be either pointed forward or you can have them slightly pointed out if that feels better on your hips. And then we'll come into a bend in the knees. Again, play with how far down this feels good for you. It is a leg strengthening exercise, so if it feels okay to come down a little bit, maybe challenge yourself. If there's no pain, bring your hands to prayer position at the center of the chest. And then this is a weight shift exercise. So we're going to shift the weight over to the right, and as we do, this prayer position is going to come across horizontally in the same direction. So over to the right, and then you're going to turn your head and look left. And then we'll come back to the center, palms the center of the chest, and then transfer the weight over to the left foot. The palms come across horizontally to the left, and then you turn and look right. And then everything to the center, and then we start to build just a little momentum. So as we shift over, the arms come across, that front arm comes towards straight. If it's still bent at the elbow a little bit, that's fine. But you want to get a nice stretch through the front of the shoulder. And then turning the head in the opposite direction helps to wring out the spine, bring energy into the shoulders, the neck. And then I like to breathe, inhaling in one direction and then exhaling in the other. So this is really great. This is a longevity practice. So strengthening the legs, really pumping blood from the legs up. And then this is actually a gentle rotation of the spine also. So you're getting a nice spine exercise here. And then cardiovascularly, right, our heart starts to pump a little more, sending blood, delivering oxygen, clearing the brain. And then let's come back to the center for a moment. Now we slow the breath down. So we go a little bit more active and then a little bit more passive. So let's just come back to our breath. Inhale and exhale. This time in the inhale, let's just open up the arms, look up. And then exhale, bring everything back to the center. And then inhale. And exhale. And inhale. And exhale. And we are going to do that one more time. So if you want a different variation, a little bit more upright, or a little less bend in the knees, or a little more bend in the knees, whatever feels good for you. Now we'll start over to the right. So shifting the weight to the right, hands over to the right, look left, inhale to the center, and then we start picking up a little bit of momentum. So if you want to practice or play with going a little bit faster, seeing how that feels, or if you want to really kind of sink into going slow. It's nice to play with different variations. Really feel, right, that you're getting a nice opening, especially through the upper spine, like between the shoulder blades, that you're getting some strength through the legs, especially the quads. Those big muscles are what help pump blood back to the heart. We don't have any pumping organ in our feet, right? The heart's really great at sending the flow out, and then our bodies rely on the musculature of our lower extremities especially to get that return flow back. That's why leg strength is so important, moving is so important. And let's come back to the center. And then inhale, look up, and exhale. Inhaling and exhaling. And one more for good measure. Okay, let's come back to a shorter stance. Let's shake everything out. We'll go into shaking actually. So we're gonna bounce the lower half of the body. Get those knees involved if it feels good for you. Shaking out the wrists. Maybe make a few heart sounds on the exhale. Even doing just a minute of shaking once a day can really change the energy in your body, can change your emotional state, and it can really clear the mind. So this alone, this one QiGong movement, can be very beneficial. Just letting it all go. And let's start to slow down. And let's pause. Maybe close your eyes. Again, just feeling, starting to see and feel how energy is moving through your body. QiGong, the art of being skillful with our own energy, and that means understanding in a more subtle way how energy is moving or not moving or is stagnant. Excuse me. And using these techniques to help shift and change and move things that need addressing before they become disease. Doesn't mean that we can't prevent anything from happening, but we can have a profound influence on it the more we are tapping into the subtle things that are happening before they become clinical on a lab report. Just like feeling where things are moving or not can be very profound in helping you be able to shift and change things, have a little bit more agency, which is wonderful. Doesn't mean don't go to the doctor and get your blood tests and do all of that, but this is the art of preventative medicine. This is part of that. So let's start with a posture called Embrace the Tree. So allowing the shoulders to be nice and relaxed. We're going to bring the arms around and a big embrace. The fingers pointing towards one another. Keep the wrists nice and loose. And then maybe close your eyes and just conjure up the image of a big, beautiful tree. Right? And think of the root systems that are flowing down into the earth, and imagine that the same is happening with energetic roots down your legs through the earth. You have this beautiful, strong body like the trunk of the tree, the leaves, the top of the tree blooming up and out, like the crown of your head reaching up towards the sky, and your arms are like the limbs. And just breathing in that tree energy, stability, but also flexibility. And then from here, let's drop your left hand down. Okay. Your left hand's down, your right hand's towards your heart. Take a little visual imprint of this, because cloudy hands, this is what we're sort of coming back to with each movement back and forth, is, you know, a heart towards a hand towards the heart, kind of helping to stoke the joyful fire of connection. And then the lower hand, just an anchor to the ground, a little shadow of the cloud up here. And let's transfer the weight to the right foot. And then let's turn from the waist. So we're going to rotate your whole torso over to the right. And now change the hands. So now the left hand comes up, the right hand is down. Transfer the weight now to the left foot, and then rotate over to the left. So swap the position of the hands. So think heart and then towards the earth. And then we shift the weight and then turn. So the hands just naturally float and exchange their positions, and then we shift the weight and rotate. And now we start smoothing out those transitions. Right, so we start this hand positionings as we transfer the weight. So it's more like a flowy dance, right? Cloudy hands. This is one of the movements that helps to nourish the heart. We're just gliding through, just like clouds glide through the sky. Think of that softness as we float back and forth. That top hand, a reflection of your heart energy. The bottom, like a little shadow of the cloud above. And just breathing in that joyful heart energy. So just float the arms, changing position, shifting the weight, and then the arms are really just an extension of the body. So the movement's more from rotation of your center, and the arms just like a tree. These branches just float and sway like wind. Right? We don't actually see the wind, just like we really can't see the chi, the energy, but we know it's there. We know wind is there because we see the trees moving. So the subtle energy, we're just allowing our bodies to float as energy flows through us. As that wind energy comes up and facilitates this movement, and we lean into it. Now, let's all make sure that we're on the right side, because I'm going to change this slightly. So if we're all over to the right, this time step forward with your left foot. So you're in a staggered stance. So your left foot is in front. Now we're going to continue. So we're going to be cloudy hands more at an angle now. So rotating over to the left. And then as we rotate to the right, there's a weight shift to the back foot. So now instead of right to left, it's more front to back. Keeping the knees bent so you have a nice foundation. So inhale as we come forward towards the right, and then exhale towards the back. As we inhale towards the front, that left hand's kind of helping, the rotation is really what's moving us, but you can feel that connection to our hearts with that top hand. Just a slightly different dynamic here. So we're still rotating and transferring the weight, nice and slowly. Now let's all meet here towards the front foot. Now as we exhale, step back. And now we're side by side again. So over to the left. I'm gonna come up a little bit. And then to the right. Just a few moments here back at our original stance. Now this time, as we come over to the right, we're going to step forward with the right foot. And continuing, now we're more forward. And then exhaling towards the back foot. Inhaling. And exhaling. Feeling the heart center, the center of our emotions. This is really great to balance our emotions. To cultivate emotions of the heart, joyfulness, gratitude, connection, love. On the next exhalation, I'm going to step back again. And then continue back at our original stance here, right to left. If you kind of got a little stuttered, that's okay. Part of the heart is this playfulness, right? Just kind of figure your way back on track. And just feel your own flow. We all stutter. We all trip up every once in a while. It's part of growth. Just like little kids, right? Little kids can fall and you're like, man, if I fell like that at 48, I would not be bouncing back up. They have this bouncy resiliency. So we're just channeling that energetically, mentally, emotionally. As much as, our current situation in life and society, there's a lot of stuff going on that everyone's dealing with. And in the context of that, it's, I think, really important, and we still tap into the things that we're grateful for to nourish the heart. It needs that constant fuel. It needs it. It needs it so that we're able to move forward with clarity, to figure out how to move forward, right? And continue that love and gratitude. And then let's come into our chi ball for a moment. Feeling the space between your hands, this little orb of energy. And then we'll go into a flow that has to do with the three treasures, which in Chinese medicine are the three Jing, Qi, and Shen, the physical body, who we are physically, our emotional center, and then our spirit or our mind, consciousness. And the three treasures, those are the most important three things that we all have, right? Our bodies, our emotions, our consciousness in terms of, well, in some context. And so Tigress Gathers Her Cubs is about being sort of the mother to ourselves and gathering and nourishing all three aspects, which are equally as important. So we'll start. I'm so sorry, I have a little phlegm in my throat. We're going to start by rotating all the way over to your right. As you do, you're going to take the back of the left arm comes all the way across your body over to the right. And then as we start to turn the torso back to the center, just spiral the hand up and then in. Like you're kind of gently pulling on or tugging on something right back to the center. Keep your shoulders nice and relaxed. And then as we rotate over to the left, you're going to take the back of the right arm all the way in front and over to the right, to the left, and then inhale back to the center. So we're working more in this realm here, which is the Jing level, most associated with the physical body. So exhale across and then inhale in. Exhaling, moving all the way across, so rotating from the center all the way across and then rotating back to the center. So exhale and inhale. And just think about, we're constantly moving through this field of energy. And we can take in energy from the environment that's going to help benefit each of these three levels. So here, just imagine that as we gently come across and we gently pull in, we're just pulling in energy to nourish the lower dantian, the physical body. The tigress kind of gathering energy, gathering the cubs, meaning the precious energy. Exhaling across and then inhaling in. We want to draw in, right? So if we come to the center, we want to be inhaling and pulling in. Exhale. Now we're going to come across now more towards the level of the heart. So the arm still comes all the way across, but now as we rotate the hand up and pulling in, we're pulling in more at the level of the heart center. The Qi level, where we interact with one another, this Qi field, our emotions, our heart space. What makes us go. Again, inhaling and gathering and nourishing the Qi level here. Nice and slow. The slower we go, the more receptive we become, and the better we can tap into those subtle energies. And now at the level of the forehead, we're going to come across all the way over to the left, inhaling in, nourishing our consciousness, our mind, our spirit, whatever you want to call it. This is the Shen level. Creating clarity, gently releasing habitualized patterns of thinking, just creating space and opportunity for something new. maybe new vision. Just feeling the spaciousness that happens when we bring ourselves into the present moment. We allow ourselves to breathe, to move slowly, intentionally. And then let's come back down in front of the heart center. And then back down to the lower dantian. And let's come back to our chi ball one last time, just feeling all that accumulation. The space between your hands, just a reflection of that. And then let's end with pulling down the heavens or pulling down the skies. So inhale the arms down, around, and up. And then exhale all the way back down. And again. And one last time. And then let's bring the feet together and let's end just for a few moments here in the posture of the bamboo in the wind. So feeling, coming back to, remember, embrace the tree, that tree or bamboo or a plant that has a really strong root system. And then as energy flows, chi flows through the body, you feel those subtle movements, right? The heart is beating. What's beating the heart? Nobody really knows. In Chinese medicine, we call that qi. That's life force, right? And that we know that it's beating because we feel the heart beating. Just like we can see the tree swaying. We can't see the wind, but that's the energy force that we're working with, that qi that's associated with that invisible movement. And how our bodies are so adept at being able to shift and change dynamically. As a reminder that our brains are really great. We can think through a lot, right? But we don't have to think through everything. Our bodies grew you, right? There's all these organs and the regeneration and cells that they know exactly what they have to do. They work together like a little beehive. They have different tasks, and all of that's done at a level way outside our consciousness. And so let's have maybe a moment of that, of reverence for that intelligence. And maybe as a piece of solace, I think that we have that. And you can crack your eyes open. Thank you